seasoned psychiatrist in a federal penitentiary. But I remember the time he walked into my office as if it were yesterday. Sit down. No, on second thought, that's a good idea. Keep laughing. Just stand there and keep laughing.
Are you a doctor or aren't you?
My job is to find out exactly...
I don't care what your job is. I don't even care what you think.
Why not?
Because you're a Negro. So finish asking your questions, let me get out of here.
You can go anytime you like. But before you go, tell me, what have you got against us Negroes?
You really want to know?
I really want to know.
What do you got against us whites? There's your answer.
After several extremely slow and difficult months of analysis, there finally came a knowledge.
Pressure Point is just another strong classic that highlights the concept of mental illness. There's obviously cases where general society can tell someone is on a different emotional or mental plane than the rest of the general society. And some of those people can function amongst general society and some cannot. But those that can function amongst general society sometimes can pose a danger because of the instability, and Pressure Point brings this out.
He was an only child, and his conception, he soon found out, was the only cause for the sudden and bitter marriage that followed. His father was a butcher. He was quick to anger and hard to please. His vigor, it seemed, was constantly replenished by drink and by vengeful resentment he felt toward his son.
I wouldn't cry. I promised myself I wouldn't cry.
Why not?
Because I didn't want to be like her.
His mother was a weak and sickly woman. Soon after the birth of her son, unable to take the strain of her husband's abuse, she began to spend most of her time in bed, from where she would fill the house with her groans and complaints.
You're such a strong little boy, and you've such strong hands. And she'd go on and on. You're the only one. The only one. The only one.
Eventually, he began to spend most of his time in vengeful daydreaming. Out of voracious and romantic reading, he constructed gory fantasies in which he got even with everybody. his favorite daydream was the one in which he fancied himself an Eastern potentate. In this particular fantasy, two features are most interesting. First, it set the pattern for his sexual life. Through the brute aggressiveness with which he fulfilled his desires and imposed his will on others, irrespective of their wishes. The second was paradoxical, for in reality he could not stand the sight of blood with which his fantasies were filled. It meant his father and his father's trade. During vacations and after school, he sometimes would have to help out in the shop where he was put in charge of the cash register, since he was dexterous and quick with figures. But he was filled with apprehension if he had to touch or even look at the meat, and to watch his father prepare it was literally unbearable for him. His father, knowing this, would occasionally taunt him about it, until on a particularly busy day, he asked him to cut up a piece of liver. By the time he was 15, he had left home, never to return again.
I didn't say goodbye. I didn't take any clothes except for what I was wearing.
That's it. I'm gonna give everybody some exercises.
I'm gonna play tic-tac-toe.
Did you ever want to kill your father?
When I was a kid, I used to lie awake at night praying he would die. And when he didn't, I'd think up ways to do it myself. Pick him up and put him on the counter. Chop him up. Chop him up.
What happened to him? You know?
Yes. He was hanged about 10 years later for beating an old man to death in the streets, a complete stranger.